Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please subscribe to this channel, like, share, as well as drop a comment on the comment section. So today we are going to be talking about the concept of strategy. The concept of strategy. Now, what is a strategy? A strategy can be defined as an action plan, a blueprint, a framework that is tailored towards achieving an overall objective or a long-term plan. So when we talk about strategy, we're actually looking at, a careful plan on how to actually achieve a long-term objective or an overall objective. Don't it is good to actually note that strategy is actually a military concept. Okay, so strategy from the military parlance can be defined as the relationship between the possession of the means of violence and the achievement of that of political objectives. So strategy is actually the bridge, the bridge between the use of force and politics to achieve states' objectives. So, according to Professor Humphrey Asobe, strategy can be defined as the coordinated use of all the assets available to polity or states or any other security community for the achievement of political outcomes. According to General Clausewitz, strategy is the use of some engagements for the object of war. Now, in the idea of von Moltke, strategy is the practical adaptation of the means placed at a general's disposal for the attainment of the object of war. So, as a political scientist or as a student of political science or even as a student generally, you must actually continue to ensure that you are strategic in everything that you do in this life. You have to be very strategic. Look at the bigger picture at every time. Look at the long-term objective. Look at the overall objective, what you are going to gain, what you stand to achieve at the end of the day. You don't just live your life carelessly anyhow. You have to always be strategic with your life. You have to always be strategic with your moves. You have to always be strategic with everything that you do in this life. So now we are going to go into another concept. That is the concept of strategic thinking. I told you before that strategy is actually a military concept. So strategic thinking is actually how you think strategically. So when you have a long-term plan, a long-term goal, a long-term action plan, framework and all of that, and then you think about it, fixate your attention on it from time to time, what you are doing is actually what is known as strategic thinking. So strategic thinking is about, military tactics used to win a battle. So any discussion on strategy must therefore begin with an understanding of war. Okay, so strategic thinking emerged as an important discipline. It emerged as an important discipline during the early years of the Cold War, which was an era of tension between the Eastern Bloc and, of course, the Western Bloc. Okay, so strategic thinking is linked to realism because, of course, it emerged given the experiences of the 1930s. Now, after the First World War, okay, the Europeans did not want any more wars, and then they came up with this idea of the League of Nations. Okay, now that brought about collective security, but this League of Nations couldn't stop the occurrence of the Second World War, which made scholars to think that security should not be entrusted to anybody or any institution but the state, because putting the security into one in the hands of one multilateral organization is actually risking the security of the state, because when the chips are down, the multilateral organization or institution will not actually protect, the nation that actually donated its or her security to the institution. So security is the exclusive preserve of the state after, according to realism. But with the peaceful collapse of the Soviet Union, realism came under suspicion. Now, the end of realism brought about the era characterized by peace dividends, also known as the period of disarmament. Okay, so when we talk about strategic thinking, we're actually looking at the use of the use of the military to achieve political objectives. Okay, so those are the things. So the thinking, then, don't forget what I've just said in real sense, is that the thinking after the First World War was that it was because there was no international organization in place. That was why the war was fought. And so the Europeans came together to actually form the League of Nations. Now, the League of Nations actually could not hold the world peace together, and then there was the Second World War. The Second World War that was fought between 1939 and 1945 actually, brought in another thinking that the League of Nations, could not. Of course, the League of Nations was formed on the basis of idealism. So idealism could not actually stop the occurrence of the Second World War. And so another thought or another thinking, strategic thinking, now came on board, which is called realism. Now, realism now said, okay, the best way to actually protect a nation's security is not to put the security in the hands of one collective institution or a multilateral organization that will actually ensure collective security, because when the chips are down, they will not actually protect a nation's, they will not actually ensure a nation's security. And so there was need for another thinking to come up, and that was the thinking of realism, that nations should protect their national security, should protect their interests, should actually ensure that they continue to build their weaponry and every other thing. But again, during the Cold War and during the collapse of the Soviet Union, realism came under suspicion. Shebi, you said that states should actually build their weapons, build their arms, build their security and all of that. After the Soviet Union built theirs, the Western world built theirs. At the end of the day, why did the Soviet Union come down? Why did that war collapse? Okay, now it brought a redefinition of the thought, of the thinking, that realism, after all, is not actually, the Messiah that is the thinking that has actually come to address the world situation. And so there's still another thinking that, tilting towards the peace dividends, also known as the period of disarmament, which is actually the period we are in right now. But what are the importance of strategic thinking? Number one, it deepens our understanding on the nature of war. That's number one. It deepens our understanding of the nature of war. With strategic thinking, you'll be able to actually know how wars are fought, okay, and the reasons for that. Number two, it helps us to think strategically, on how to prosecute the war and procure success. Number three, it equips us with theories that can be used to analyze problems of war and peacetime. Then number four, it provides the conceptual foundation of an understanding of war. What I've said in real sense is that strategic thinking is not just about security. It's not just about military alone. Every aspect of your life, you have to be strategic You have to think strategic about every aspect of your life, your educational career, your professional career, your family, your religious life, every aspect of your life. You have to be strategic about it. You have to always think strategic. In fact, every day you must sit down. You must give at least an ample time to think strategically about all aspects of your life. It is actually very important, because you cannot be a student of strategic thinking and then you don't think strategically. So you have to think strategically about all aspects of your life. Thank you very much.